Cable 10, Aurora, Illinois Community Access Channel.
Let's get weird, buddy. Let's get weird.
Guys, where are we?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Enjoy your stay. I actually oh boy, it's already breaking up on us.
Sorry, folks, you might have some technical difficulties. Internets and extreme cold don't mix.
Yeah, it's really cold here. We've got some severe warnings and stuff. I didn't go outside. Actually, it was probably not as bad earlier as it is now. I was gonna go to the store and grab a snack, and I was like the cat that it's time to go outside, right? And then you go out for about a couple of feet and you go, nope. Turned right back around, didn't even get in the car before I just went, you know what? You're good. You're good. You can go without. You can go without.
Don't really need any of those other things.
No, not that bad. So yeah, bear with us with our technical difficulties here. Yeah, and so welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. That's Darrin Jaques from D's Reviews, and as always, we are talking Fallout stuff, season 2. We are now on episode 6. We're still 2 episodes left. We still have 2 more weeks of this.
So nice.
Every day, every week, we sound like the biggest dorks saying the same thing. How many weeks left do we have? Yay! But yeah, we're really, really digging this show, and this season to me is. I need this show. I need stuff like this to distract me from the insanity of the world. I think it's funny again that a show about corporations bringing about the apocalypse is still entertaining when it feels like the real thing is kind of happening, just not in such an entertaining way. It's really boring how our real apocalypse is happening from corporations.
Well, it just reinforces already existing feelings of what they can do, I think. You know, we watch the world, we're like, they want to kill all of us, don't they? And we get to watch Fallout and go, oh, yes. Yes, this does feel right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you like what we're doing here, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, as we are always trying to put out fun, good stuff about good content, good shows. These are the shows that we get really in depth with. So if you're just here to listen to the Cliff Notes version, we don't do that. We get in deep and we talk about the meanings of things and how it makes us feel. And so this show brings up a lot of feels. And the reason I'm glad, because I always like to put stuff into my intros and outros now, and I really wanted to find something else. But when I settled on putting the ghoul getting pushed out the window, what I really liked, and it's something we didn't really bring up last week as much, or at least I didn't say, was just how the ghoul is, or the ghoul Coop was Lucy at one point in his life. Ideals, believing things, justice, right and wrong. They would have been friends. They would have liked each other. You know what I mean? And his journey and him having to watch her be good. And, and how far he's fallen amidst all of what we know from the flashbacks and the story and stuff, is that he, though, after everything just went downhill and he's just surviving and become a shadow of himself, a monster of himself, literally, and how he's kind of taken joy in trying to contaminate her with things and maybe not necessarily just encourage or anything, but not say, hey, He's allowed her to just go down and try drugs and get off drugs and try to be right about the world. Like his cynical look at the world and how he tries to keep telling her about it. And even when she comes there and she darts him or he darts her, and they were, she thought they were friends, and he's feeling bad, and she goes down and she keeps getting up. She keeps fighting. She doesn't stop. And it's got to keep reminding him of like the things that he tried back before the bombs went down.
Yeah, it's
see if it calms down.
Yeah, it's interesting because he is, as he became a ghoul, he lost his humanity. I mean, it's such a visual representation of what his journey is in that. And now he is a ghoul. He is gone, and so much of this episode, even here, where he's hanging on that pole and trying not to turn, he's desperately trying to hang on to those last shreds of humanity. Because he and Lucy are the opposites. It's where he was to where he's gone, where she could be going. And I think that's where we end up seeing that they will need each other. They're going to need that balance in the world, in order to survive, I think, ultimately. But now, he's a ghoul. He's not human anymore. He lost that. It was burned out of him by the radiation.
So that was why I had that in there. I just wanted to bring that up. I just really like that Lucy just keeps on, fighting no matter what. So we're going to start as usual with the least important story. Still fun, still building tension. In fact, I'd say there's a hell of a lot of tension building in our Vault Dwellers storyline as it keeps going. Like, where are we going to go? Because we know that Betty, especially in this episode, we saw young Betty before the bombs talking to Barb. So we know how far back her interests go, and that she's not the greatest person in the world. But that doesn't mean that she's wrong. And also how this is tied to what we see in Barb's story. We find out about the water chips. So that's something that we can definitely talk about here. That's part of another story where they said 30% of the chips are going to fail. But the good news is we get to choose whose vaults are going to have this problem. So think about this. We were talking about, as I was rewatching this, I was talking about, that means that the water chip there failed, right?
Yeah.
In Hank's, like in their vaults.
So, well, because they're not part of that decision making. That's a whole different bit. But again, it's one of those. It's like, is it really a failure if you know ahead of time which ones are going to fail? Because you could just not use those.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's that just dark corporateness to see. Yeah. And that all of their woes, in many ways, Betty has brought with her, is because the reason they're going to go out has to do with what they were doing way back then.
So I love that plays a part in it. I'm also glad, and I'm hoping for when they hard cut from "you can't take away our snack budget." I'm really hoping that the next scene is them all like in some kind of holding cell or something. I don't know, because it's time for the incest club to stop. But I love what it really is. And again, this is another good representation of several things that you can talk about from our own society, of like the selfish. There's people there, like in Dude's mind, he's had like he's having like a party. And as Bill was bringing up to me about the aspect ratio change from fantasy to reality, the 3x4 musical number to the widescreen, this is what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And really, they're just all sitting around, standing around, claiming now, oh yeah, I'm a triple cousin and stuff, just to get extra rations, just to get into their nasty club because people are suffering, and so now they're willing to lie about it, and people just being selfish and thinking that they're entitled to things and not thinking about the future and not caring about the long-term effects of things, and that you can't just do it instead of just like, well, we don't care. This isn't even class struggle really. They talk about it like, who's your parents, and he tries to turn it around on her. And even though there's like a point there, he doesn't know what point he's making. He doesn't know what point he's even making, though. He just, because he can't even articulate it. These people are dumb. That's the other part. These are the people that we're supposed to be the best of the best at the end of the world, to come back and repopulate the world. And this guy can't even articulate his words. He's just a selfish little prick. And it's the one time that I want Betty to just be like, okay, that's it. I wanted to see them throw down, because even though that was a really fun scene with the uranium song playing and everything, I know that I am being influenced by what's happening in the world right now, but I really wanted somebody to wipe that stupid look off that guy's face. You know what? And it's also because he looks kind of like Michael Knowles, that dipshit from the Daily Wire.
Yeah, sure. I know who you're
So I
talking
really
about.
wanted to just smack that face, that look off his face. And then you just have that bit about poor Woody. I don't know what happened to Woody. Poor Zach Cherry. His character, I don't know. What did she do to him?
That's we were a little worried when he did speak up. I think we had actually mentioned like, wow, we thought that he was going to be gone, and he's not, and then all of a sudden he's not around anymore. So yeah, what is happening with him? Well, we may kind of actually get a little hint of that when we get into the Ghoul storyline, because if the one thing that we saw previously with the outies of the vault dwellers here, part of the plan involved the forced evolutionary virus, which we actually have not else touched on, but we do get to see a kind of a result of that we'll touch on when we get in this. So yeah, wondering what is happening to any excesses to Mr. Cherry there. That would be, yeah, I'm curious. And I do like the fact that they're kind of being quiet about those little things. Of course, Chet does have other worries at the moment, as he just found out that he's getting married tomorrow. That's always how you want to find out, from a poster.
Yeah, so things are about to go down in the vaults, and I can't wait.
By the way, for the game aficionados, I don't know if you caught, also on the poster board right next to it, somebody had lost a copy of Dean's Electronics. And for anybody who's played the game, Dean's Electronics is one of the many magazines that if you read, you will increase one of your skill points. So somewhere out there, someone's repair skill just kicked up a notch.
Bill Casey putting in the chat here, as always, something clever. And who knows? I wonder how much water you could get from a person.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that, Bill. That is a good point.
That'd be terrifying and horrible, but that would be very Fallout.
Which of these fates are better? That's when you get really interesting in this world. But yeah, we got some nice setting up here, I think, from inside the vault. Not a whole lot, just kind of setting a couple stages, I think, here to happen in our last 2 episodes.
So then we move on to Lucy and Hank at Vault-Tec and the automated men, automated people story, part of the story. I love. Okay, first off, like, there's a lot of like really peppy music during like a lot of time, but this one in particular has a lot of like upbeat music, including this scene where she wakes up in the ideal place. There's the dress, everything's the same, like you're in a vault. It feels very vaulty. So
yeah.
Also saves our money on sets and not having to be outside. But this is where she's introduced, and I love how they tricked me for a second. I didn't realize how far ahead Hank was, how much he had gotten done. In fact, I thought maybe the guy, the snake oil salesman, was just like his first success. And so he sent him out there, and by when we get there and we see the Legion officers, I was like, oh shit. Like, is he working with? And it just didn't dawn on me that he had been gathering people that fast and building his own little, he's populated his office with all these people that he's found in the wasteland. And again, this is a really interesting thing. It's very pluribus about this part of the plot, which is like, he, in his mind, he is saving these people's lives and giving them a better life. Technically, he's kind of true. He's keeping them out of danger from up on the surface. But for how long and without free will, what does it matter? Now, and again, this is where it's just so tricky because, does that mean everybody should just be free to kill each other? Because that's all in Hank's mind. That's all he sees up there is just everybody. And the thing is prove him wrong. In this case, most people, it's just literally kill or be killed up there. But so does that mean that we should just be allowed to kill ourselves? And I don't know. It's a very interesting question to ask these days. Should we just be allowed to completely the whole thing,
Well, that's it. It's like, is it the world could be a better place as long as nobody has free will. As long as they just obey and do what they're told and, and can't think for themselves. Sure. But then is that really humanity at that point? And I think that is, because you're right. It is a very enticing idea, because now if we think back to that discussion that we had with the snake oil salesman, between him and Hank, do you want to forget every memory that you had, every choice, everything? It's like your skills will remain and you will be able to, and language, but everything that meant something to you will be gone. So they're also in many ways not the people that they were anymore. They're a wiped memory version of, there's a philosophical discussion that says that our identity is technically tied into our experience memory, and people that lose chunks of their lives can become different people that have head lesions and damage to the brain. They will become other people when their experience or their interpretation changes. And if they don't have that, kind of like, for those of us that might have partied a little too much back in our day, you've been told stories of things that you've done that you don't remember. That experience isn't really part of you anymore. It's like a copy of yourself, because you don't have that memory anymore. So it's kind of an interesting idea, is does this make them really somebody else? Though he does talk about memories which they seem to recall, and I'm not sure how that happened. But again, the specifics of Hank's procedure isn't entirely, I think, been made clear to us. But I think also time-wise, yeah, we don't know how much time went from when he turned the snake oil salesman to when he showed up at Lucy's door. It was in the same episode for us, but that could have been a stretch of time in between after he perfected it.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much the big crux of all of this is what he's done and how now he wants her to take over. That's why he's fine with being arrested. Even though I mean it is so he's going along with it so well. I mean, but then it is that manipulation right at the end of seeing John Grise there. Now maybe he doesn't know that she knows the NCR guy. But he does know that if she's carrying on like this, right, and she's going to say, it's almost as if he kind of knew all the steps that she was going to take once she got there. Like, he put all these props up, but really it was like he kind of knew. I think, even though he says, like, I wasn't sure if being out here in the wasteland had changed you. And it's that way he says it with like this relief. But at the same time, I still think he's still kind of leading her down the path to having to make that choice of pressing the button to save the guy's life. And boy, oh boy, did I not know that that was a stapler he was using, because I was like, he should be dead by the second hit.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like,
I was like, he's hitting him so hard. Stop, please, sir. I wanted that to stop. Okay, look, when Glenn got killed on The Walking Dead, I knew it was coming and it hurt. It still hurt, but I was ready for it. That I was not ready for. The gusto. Oh, I felt that. I felt those hits. But yeah, she has, of course, there's no other choice in that second. She has to press the button, and his look of that's just the first step, and you'll see, like talking about how all these people were killers and murderers. And although it was pointed out to me again by Bill earlier, like they all, like only one person's making trail mix, only one person's sharpening pencils, only one person's like, they all have some like it looks like the two guys are working on the coffee. Like it's
well, their only real job is to make more of the things that made them, which you're right, in some way very pluribus, just spread the disease.
And again, where do they go? Where do they sleep? We don't know. Do they sleep? Do they need sleep? Does he just have them down there? And is she just eating nuts and raisins until her like kidney, like that can't be good for you if you're just sitting there eating trail mix all day. I don't know. That's a lot of protein.
Sure.
And fiber.
Tight, isolated quarters. That's not fun.
No.
It's not good for your neighbors.
So that's pretty much where Hank and Lucy are. Am I forgetting anything to...
No, I mean, I think that hits it well. It is very much a tete-a-tete of what is right and of Will's. And I think, yeah, Lucy, while she is more seasoned, is still relatively naive. And Hank, if we could see anything, he is thorough. He plans things out, and because I think you're totally right, that was totally set up for her to have to press the button to see how he sees things.
She's his little girl.
Exactly.
He raised her for all those years. He built her sense of self. He built her sense of morality.
Yes.
So all of these things,
as the overseer, he would guide that for the entire vault. And he has made her the person that she is. And now it's his time to warp, remake, adjust how she sees things. Yeah. Also, just watching Kyle MacLachlan do things is just
all right. So
yeah.
As I'm trying to wait till I see like a moment where it doesn't freak out on us. So that brings us to like our third part of the story, the part that I think is the best, the part that I wish I could have found something good to use for the intro, because I loved, just like last week's speech with Robert House and Coop, and Barb here, getting to know Barb more in this episode was a big thing of like, I mean, again, it's the tired cliche of, you know, what would you do for your family? Would you kill everyone? And they actually call that out in this. I love finally a character actually says the thing to the person, like, that needs to be said about all this. Like, really going to do all this just to save us? But again, this is where we start the episode, right? And it's that peppy music of did it like she's in a marketing meeting of like, how many bombs are we going to show in the LA background? Oh, well, clearly it's going to be at least 5, megaton bombs for LA, or then when we find out about the water chips. And then when we find out about how many what I have right down here, the freeway, talking about, oh, we should, that's money on the table. There he is, still with his whole body and not just his brain, sitting there just, like you said, munching on chips, just sitting there planning the end of the world. And like, this is right as like Coop has just said, like, and I love it, describing their romantic meeting and the noise that it made when he went down on his knee on the rock, like such detail and such care. And then just, so were you a monster back then, or did you become one later? Like, just, and so when we get this, it's like to see Barb struggle and realize like the alarm's already been rung, it's all gonna happen, that I work for these people, and what do I do about it? Like, it is interesting. Like, what alarm do you sound if you're Barb? Especially when, because I'm just gonna start spoiling some of these things. Especially when we know, okay, we find out that the real threat is the Enclave. Okay, there's a lot of threats in the Wasteland, but the big fascists, because there's a lot of fascists. All right, the Brotherhood.
Yeah,
it's all a lot. It's degrees of fasci, right? But the Enclave are the big fascis that have been. These are the Vault-Tec people. Like, these are the people that are working behind the things. The people that survive, that look at the rest of us. These are the corporations just in one thing, and it's the same company that Michael Emerson's character play. Iggy. I had it written down here.
I love that he showed up.
Siggy Wilzig, who shows up in the elevator to tell Barb, like, you can't do that. And it shows that Barb's really working for the Enclave, right? Same as Michael Emerson was. So she's working for Vault-Tec, but really working for the Enclave. And she can't do nothing because they'll kill her whole family, and they would kill his whole family too if he didn't give the message. Just a great way to bring a character back to show like who's the real bad. Like, so many bads. We keep thinking how many bad guys are on this show, and how big, like, each one is like a clan, a faction that is just going to be a problem for our characters. And I just, the way that they just keep peeling off all of this stuff for us per episode, it makes you realize how rich the Fallout universe is, with things to talk about and to reveal and to show people. Just a fantastic way of going about the whole thing.
Well, and it's a great use of, I mean, the bait and switch, I think, is, the great thing that you build stuff on and is often overused. And this is kind of perfect because you think that Barb is presented from everything we've seen as Coop being the, our kind of entry into this world. We know what Coop knows in this sense. And Coop knows, hey, his wife's talking about ending the world. So we see her as the bad guy. But we get to have this episode to go, no, she's not the bad guy. Someone else is the bad guy. And I love how they use the time jumps as a way to build up and layer this, is because we start out, we see Barb as far back in the past as we can think. When this is all just happening, the plan is going on and she's just going with it. But as we find out later on, when we have that scene with Betty, even she gets hit with the point of going, this is insane. This is crazy. So she gets the idea, well, maybe I need to take this cold fusion thing. Boom, there's Michael Emerson, our old friend, popping up saying, oh, you do that and everybody dies. Everyone, all your family dies. So it's after this that she then does the meeting that Coop overhears, where she's talking about we have to end the world, which she has to say because of orders. And now we know who she's looking up at in the shadows. It's whoever this enclave representative is. And probably the same person that House is going after. So yeah, we know the enclave is there, but I don't think anyone in universe in that Barb's time knows about the enclave, because again, it's like, oh, Spectre's really running it. No, it's this thing. No, it's this secret organization that's always, further and further behind. But how it lays out, it's like now we get to see all of those things in order and understand, oh, she's just like Coop. She wanted to fight it as soon as she found out, but she can't. In order to save her family, she has to do it. And now she's got to convert Coop over to her side, which is kind of like Hank having to convert Lucy over to his side. Not in the same way, but a similar kind of track. Is no, you have to understand sometimes the bad is the only way to go.
Yeah. When he tells her, I don't know if I know anybody worse than you, like, man.
And I love how they're smuggling it the same way that Michael Emerson was smuggling it in the opening episode. He's not carrying around cold fusion. He's carrying around the thing that you got to stab at his neck to pull it out. That's security right there. I mean, that's like, two-factor authorization, authentication. Yeah.
Wow. And bad security. Terrible security. I mean, I guess he's hanging out with Cooper. So it's like, oh, there's no danger there if he's with Coop. Perfect. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to think that Cooper's going to take him. But if you have cold fusion walking around with somebody's neck, that guy shouldn't be leaving the hotel room.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but it's the arrogance of the corporate world. And also because they're just like, oh, but if they're going to steal it, they'll take the case or maybe chop off his arm, but they won't know that it's in his head.
Yeah.
That's just the not bait, but yeah. That's the false target right there.
And right before, I guess, near the end here, where we've got Maximus and Thaddeus, they've got the cold fusion. They're just trying to get away and find somebody that's worthy. At least Maximus is. So finding somebody worthy of the cold fusion. And Thaddeus just wants to sell it. But he's also got, they do have a nice little moment where it's by the fire and they're talking about good people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't, and they're like, where you come from? And he's like, he was in Shady Sands and he's like the ass end. He's like, I was in the bad part of the bad part. Like, I was in a shithole of a shithole. And I've seen lots of things, but I've never really seen good people. And it's just like, I feel you, Thaddeus. I feel you. Where it's, but the thing is that's just not true. That's the problem. So there's good everywhere. It's just so
Yeah.
hard to see it when all you are seeing is bad. Bad always is. It's easy to remember a bad memory over good memories. It's messed up how it's like it has to be an extreme. One really good memory or one really bad memory. And a lot of the stuff in between kind of gets lost a lot of times when we're looking for it because of how bad things can get. But I do like that. He's thinking, but no, I knew good people. Like I saw what happens, and good people were killed. So again, it's another thing of like that's who suffers. Even though it's everyone who suffers, it just looks like it. Again, it's like it's all about perspectives and things like that. But they eventually find Coop
Sure.
at the end.
Well, but it works well with that kind of theme is, what does it mean to being a good person? Can you be a good person? Can you find one? Because that's what Lucy and Hank are dealing with. Lucy's trying to be the good person, and Hank is trying to convince her that maybe good isn't what you think it is. Then you have Barb and Coop in the past. He's trying to be a good person, and she's showing him, yeah, I tried to be a good person too, and that didn't stick around very long. And what's even funnier is Thaddeus is talking about, well, if I was in a vault and had all the things that I wanted and all the food and stuff, then I could be a good person too. But we actually look back in the vault and, Betty and Snack King there are about to go head to head. Meanwhile, Zach's Cherry's, Woody's missing. And Chad's, going to be in some problems there. So it's like, well, even if you're in a vault and have everything, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good person. If there's one thing that our world shows up, but even if you have everything, often that makes you a worse person. That's what you got to do to get all those things, which, gets us back to Vault Tech and the whole reason there's an apocalypse they're dealing with right now. So, no, it's again, I do like those kind of philosophical questions, and that's something the show gets to actually play with very well. What does it mean to be a good person? Yeah. Can you stay a good person? And like you're saying, if you are the good person, does that mean you're just the first victim?
Yeah. But also he says, he ties it to financial stuff. He says, like you're saying, he's like, well, if we sell this thing, then we'll be rich. And then I can be, I can afford to be, one of those good people. I can't now because I have no means to be like, I can't be good because I have to be up there to be good. I have to be on their level. Basically, you have to have so much money that nobody bothers you, because then you'd have power and nobody would be afraid of you and blah, 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 what all that comes with.
Well, I mean, if we want to reflect to, I don't know, our last pre-Christmas episode of The Outer Rim right here on YouTube, look up The Outer Rim Pod, where this guy and me talk about a little more straightforward things. But we had that Star Trek conversation, and it kind of came down to, is it the replicators that made the Star Trek future possible, that you could just make anything you wanted and thus were post-scarcity? Or did you need to have a philosophical change before that? Or would that machine just be used to take advantage of the people around you? Do you have to try and be a good person first before you get the materials that can support that? Or if you have the ability, the support to be a good person, does that give you the freedom to then try and actually be a good person?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And just for fun, well, not for fun. I mean, they put it in here and it's really cool. We finally get our first look at a super mutant, and it is an all glory. I'm so glad that I was just like, I knew who it was immediately.
Yeah.
I knew that it was Ron Perlman immediately.
I heard the voice and I was like, is that Ron? And yeah, had to look it up when my wife.
And I mean, come on.
Yeah. He's perfect. And for those that don't know, the super mutants were caused by the forced evolutionary virus. So I don't know if Zach Cherry is about to be our next super mutant. Also, every mutant that I run into is not very talkative. I think there are one or two super mutants that generally won't attack you immediately and will actually talk. I haven't run into them yet. But usually they just grunt and start shooting you.
There's one out there that you can make as a companion. So hopefully you run into him pretty soon.
Okay.
But yeah, and he is perfect. I mean, it's Ron's. They don't show him. I love it. You don't need to see. You don't need to establish much here. The big clue for me was seeing the big blood bags, the bone bags. I was
gore
like,
bags.
That was what I knew for sure. I was like, Robert, that's what that is. And yeah, I mean, he kind of looks like the Hulk underneath that thing. Wasn't sure what it was going to like be at first, but like, yeah, it's just there's a whole other thing going on. The uranium that he shoves inside Coop to heal him, right? Like, fantastic. But there's a war coming, and we're now seeing the super mutants are now another side of this, right? The things that were created, they're not supposed to be alive anymore. They were, you know what I'm saying? So already, like, there's just more to this. And will it always be Ron? Will we see Ron like fully? I don't know.
I'm always a big supporter of the less is more. You know, I love the fact, like you said, we just saw the little bit of his face and otherwise just hulking. Yes. When we see him, make it special, but otherwise, yeah, keep it on the down low.
I think that if we don't see any more super mutants this year, I'm fine with that. I think that this should just be the tease for next season. And by next season, maybe they'll technologically make it like figure it out, because I think they've been really good at making things look like they're there for the most part, right? That it's the way that they edit it and film it and don't show a lot of things for a really long time, like the rad scorpions per se, right? Same thing with super mutants. They're gonna have to kind of look like people, but you don't want them to be like just a bunch of Hulks. That costs a lot of money apparently, so less is more. But then that means save the budget for when we can just get a bunch of them, because also Death Claws probably can't have them all the time because
they're expensive.
Yep. So roll them out when we actually have something there, because I think the story does it right now for what's going on in this season and what needs to, kind of end so that we can start the next thing. I think we don't need super mutants to complicate that.
Oh, like I agree. I think that might be like, oh, that's why the Death Claws are here to hold off the super mutants or something like, we may find some reason where they start to come in, but you're right. With only 2 episodes left, this is best to be laying track work for the next stage, because I feel like there's still a lot of ground they've got to cover. Actually, I don't even know where they're going to try and end up, to be perfectly honest, which I'm kind of excited about that. Because they cover so much ground on each episode, or little, depending on what they want to do. Is this going to be they finally catch up to Lucy and she's like, no, I'm going to stay with my dad and make the automated men? Or is there going to be a reversal there? Or do we not even get to that? Do they get sidetracked by something? I don't know. But actually, I did have a question for you. The last time I remember Maximus and the Ghoul running into each other was the fight in the first season. Have they run into each other since? Did they run into each other later?
No,
because they seem to both recognize each other. But yeah, okay.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he showed up after they left at the end of season 1.
Right.
So I'm trying to think of when they would have ran into each other. It's a good question, but yeah, it's definitely season. I don't think it was this season.
No, they haven't seen this season a lot because it was just the big when Maximus still was in the battle armor, and they get the good whooping back and forth, and that's when,
that might be it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I'm curious what they're going to bring into this this little meeting then, which we don't get to see because they leave it the perfect dual fuck response, which is classic.
A good that the Steel Man met the Ghoul, Crow, Heart, Brain. Oh, is this like Tin Man and Scarecrow?
It feels a little. There's a little of that, especially with Thaddeus there, who's kind of an idiot.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Although, I mean, Death Claws versus Super Mutants could
That'd
go
be an
big.
expensive fight, but yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. But that's a wrap on this week's episode of Fallout, season 2, episode 6. The penultimate episode is out next week. I noticed it's so weird. They didn't have a preview for last week's episode. Then they dropped this episode with a little thumbnail for the next week's, and then they removed it.
I was gonna say because I didn't see that. So
because it just showed girl the eye patch in a wedding dress running. Okay. But I think that was in a trailer too. And another thing before we go, I've been hearing things about the numbers for Fallout Season 2 and them wanting to try to blame news sources thinking that this is an opportunity to blame the weekly rollout episode because people have gotten wise to the things that I've said, like not personally, but I keep saying, if you want subscribers to stick around for a show, make it weekly.
Yeah.
It's funner to talk about. But people are also saving a lot of money now, they are trying to save money. And a lot of people do what I'm going to say, which is that they let things build up on a service and then they get it for a month and then they're done. And then they move on to the next one because they want to watch everything, but they can't afford everything.
Right.
So now that's like what they're basically saying is, well, then you might as well just put them all out at once again for people to binge. But I think that the bell has been rung on that, and they're going to basically just say, no, if you want our shows, you're going to have to, either wait until the whole thing's over and get it, or, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I don't want them to lose this weekly format for the big shows. I'm glad they're finally listening, but at the same time, I do get it.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to look and see what all of their numbers are and then what changes once the last episode is, because you're right. There may be some people that are just waiting to binge because they want to binge it, but so they're just going to wait until it's all out. And
but I think that if they could afford it, though, I think people are fine with it for the most part. I do think people like it, but when you put finances in that kind of crunch where people are, we made this big thing about cutting the cord, and here we are now. All these streaming services are more than what cable used to be now, and all I'm saying is just that I get why people are doing it, but now it's just like we're in that thing, that double-edged. Like if things weren't so bad financially, we wouldn't have this problem. But
no, and I think for a lot of streaming services, there's definitely one or two that's exactly how I do it, because I get a few and I can't get all of them, and that's I don't watch enough shows that holding on to a service is going to be worth it for me.
Yeah.
But Amazon is a different beast because Prime is icing on the cake for them. They're getting your Prime membership for shipping and getting all of that stuff. You don't pay really any extra for the video stuff once you get your free delivery service. And I think this is just for them. That's fine. They don't need all of that extra push like Netflix has to keep subscribers all the time because that's all that they have. Amazon knows that you're here for the packaging, and they just have this stuff to keep you around on their site. So I think holding on to that weekly review, I think ultimately that's going to be worth it more to them because you're going to be paying them by the month or by the year regardless. You know, they don't need to tease you that way.
Yeah. All right. So do you have anything else?
No, I just had one last little note, and here it was with the whole Barb scene dealing with Michael Emerson is finding out that kind of like Vault-Tec's logo, everyone is just a cog in the machine.
Yep. Well said, sir. So yeah, thanks everybody out there for watching. Bill and Woodrow here in the chat as always. Everybody who watches this later, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and yeah, we'll be back next week for the penultimate episode of Fallout. So this is Rob from Smirking Gun Reviews, and that's my buddy Darrin Jaques.
That's me.
We'll see y'all on the flip side. Watch out for Yaguai.
All right, let's talk teeth. How many teeth do you have as a number?
Yeah, I don't, the normal number.
I feel like you don't know, and you're saying something to seem normal, but we really want to get into this.
Well, I'm just taking time so I can count with my tongue.
When you get to the end, let me know. Where are you from?
Born in Austin, Texas.
The tech capital. Do you know Joe Rogan?
No.
Do you know Elon Musk?
No.
Do you know the star of Entourage, Adrian Grenier?
No.
Who do you hang out with there?
It was my cousin Corey.
What do you think of that, Fisto?